The US might soon be going to war with Venezuela, of all countries. And it's very interesting. I didn't see this one coming. But in the last 3 weeks, we've had Venezuelan boats being shot at by the US Navy, and Venezuela claiming that they've uncovered a CIA operation of some sort. Now, if you don't know the history of these two countries, Venezuela basically is right at the top of South America, right next to Colombia and Brazil, and they have been basically had a tanked economy for a long time. Their economy is in shambles, but they are a country with heavy deposits of petroleum. So, as you can guess, a country with petroleum cannot be left alone by the US, and the US is antagonistic. They do not like how close Venezuela has, especially in the past, been with Russia and China. So, we have today where the US does not like Venezuela, Venezuela does not like the US, but recently things have really picked up because the US Navy, along with some 4,000 troops, was stationed right at the Venezuelan coast. The Venezuelan government has now been declared as a narco-terror cartel, and with the pretext of stopping a flood of drugs coming into the US US Navy has been deployed onto the coast of Venezuela. Since then, 2 boats, once every week, have been shot at by the US Navy, killing the people inside and claiming that there were drugs that were being ferried to the fleet or towards the US in these small speedboat dinghies. While the world is waiting for the US to come forth with some evidence, because it is quite a wild claim that the Venezuela is putting small speedboats with drugs filled in them and launching them towards the US, is a bit absurd, because even historically drugs from South America, not from Venezuela itself, but just generally from the region, have traveled on land through Costa Rica, Nicaragua, into Mexico, and then through Mexico into mainland US.
Sending them by boat doesn't make sense, especially speedboats. They don't have that kind of range. But especially once you've shot at a boat, killed a lot of people, you don't really have any evidence. How do you know they were carrying drugs, right? You typically have to retrieve something rather than just blow it up to know what you blew up.
So how do they know that that speedboat over there has drugs? Let's shoot it. Extra vision? Superman maybe? I don't know. The world doesn't know, and there was a bit of criticism for it. Like, there should have been some evidence before you shoot down people and kill them. But it got interesting, because now the Venezuelan government has come out with accusations that the US has basically been running a CIA operation to stage these boats so that they can shoot at them, and then claim that, hey, look, there were drugs. We knew they were launching boats of drugs towards the US. And so when the Venezuelans claim that, they have found a man that is from the US Drug Enforcement Agency, along with a few others who were supposed to put, sacks of cocaine and thousands of liters of fuel onto boats and then just, launch them towards the US Navy as proof that, drugs are being boated to the US, it does seem very plausible. But here's the issue. This is Venezuela. Like, if they're lying, how do we know? Just like we can't even confirm what the US is saying is true, how do we say, no matter how much sense it makes, how do we know this is true? What it tells me is that there's something deeper at play. This is just a pretext being created, just like that little phone call that was presented before the invasion of Iraq was taken. I don't know what exactly the game is, but I think there might be a bit of truth to both things, because Venezuela's economy is in shambles, so I wouldn't be surprised if the government is using drugs to fund itself. They very well could be part of the drug trade, but are they actually sending, speedboats with drugs on them and just like out on the sea for days? No, I doubt it. I would not believe it. And the fact that the entire US Navy is there, is this just theatrics by Trump? No, maybe even not, because the US has been historically, institutionally against Venezuela. So the fact that they're, going after Venezuela under Trump is not new, is not, maybe a little more brazen, but definitely not new and definitely not unexpected. So I'm curious to see where it goes, especially because Venezuela has a lot of oil, and the US is now pivoting very hard into acquiring and securing oil production for the future. I genuinely just hope it sorts itself out. This does not progress further, because nobody really wants this, right? No American wants to go and fight in Venezuela. No Venezuelan actually wants to uproot their lives, and I mean, they already have their own challenges, right? So I don't think they want to not have their normal lives and instead trade it for war of some kind. So hoping for peace, but definitely looks very fishy, and the groundwork does not invoke a lot of happy thoughts for me.